probably just take a break a little bit because archers on hybrid map, and then I'll actually maybe look at games instead. I'll maybe cast some games or which are going on, or just watch recs of games. Opening still remains quite like a bit similar. It's just going to be the end of feudal age where you're going to be differentiating in terms of the build order on what you're going to do with archer opening. Archer opening is good against, like with civilization, which have a lot of bonuses for opening archers, and you get to castle age pretty quickly when you open archers. It's good versus mana towns. That way you can defend against the mana towns if you can spot it coming. Saracen only, yeah, that's something I already read. I'm gonna push 2 deer again. In this case, like they're super close, so I'm gonna push them very quickly before even my first sheep is over.
أمر باحث عن الطعام. أمر بناءة. نعم سيدة. أهلا. ألو. مستعد. نعم صياد. أمر صياد.
So 4 onward again on the opening. Probably go for this shore instead of one on the top. That one is further away.
أهلا. ألو.
مستعد أمر. نعم مستعد. باحثة عن الطعام. أمر حطابة.
I'm gonna go for the boar. And now trying to scout my opponent. This villager will make a house before I move on to make go to the shoreline. Opening archer also gives you the flexibility of having the gold to deal with against the opponent sneaking. Thanks. Once you have 7 on the board, next 2 villagers go to the word, so that you have a total of 6 villagers on word instead of your typical 5. You need like 1 extra villager on word so that you have enough wood to get your archery ranges up on time. Or an archery range, but I'm expecting you to make like 2 range if you're playing heavy archers, and once you reach feudal age. Once the first boar is almost about to run out, you go get the second one.
أمر صحيح. مستحسن.
نعم سيدة.
نعم صحيح.
3-shot the boar with the 4 villages.
أمر.
مستعدة سيدة.
مستعد.
أمر.
And we are going to go up with 20 villagers instead of your typical... Actually, no, not 20. 21 villagers instead of your typical 19. But since I pushed deers, I can go up with 20 villagers, so that's fine. All the villagers stay under the town center collecting boars and sheeps. Since I can't fit more villagers on the thingy, I'm gonna go for the sheep instead. I'm gonna add a house already, otherwise I'm gonna get housed by the time I make the 4th fishing ship. After this one, I should be able to click up.
نعم باحثة
Once I'm up, all the villagers go to the wood. I'm not going to keep any of them on food.
حطابة نعم حطابة
Add one more villager to the one of the wood lines and 7 to the other one. Once you have enough for a lumber camp.
مستعد طاب
أمر نعم بناءة
I'm gonna make it like one tile to the left. Even though it's like looks a little bit inefficient, I think it's fine. Otherwise the villagers will bump into that house.
حطاب
أمر مستعدة نعم حطابة أمر بناءة مستعدة
And send 3 villagers to gold.
مستعدة بناءة
أمر
Make a barracks whenever I'm able to afford it. Again, 14 on wood remains the same.
مستعد
But the early distribution of having a little bit more wood and going up with one more population will let me have the wood to make the archery range, the blacksmith, and a second archery range. 4 fishing ships plus a villager on the shore fish will give me enough food to sustain a lot of villages. Well, not a lot of villages, but all my villages in feudal age. If I don't let that get rushed. Going back with the scout to check if my opponent is sneaking a dock on my island, on my pond or something.
ألو
All the new villages just go to gold. You don't need to keep any of them
مستعدة
taking the sheep or anything like that.
بناء
At the first archery range, get a blacksmith immediately as well. Getting fletching a little bit earlier is more important. Quick wall the well on the pond. Yeah, if you want to. Like, if, yeah, sure. Like, if you want to make sure that, like, it doesn't die, get a quick wall up over there.
أهلا عامل
So those are secondary things. I'm talking more in terms of general build right now.
بناءة حطابة
Start walling up.
حطابة
Archers, you're more vulnerable to mobile unit like scout. Get the fletching upgrade, start making archers, add a second range,
مستعدة بناءة
and start walling up as well.
بناءة
أمر بناء
I'm even gonna use this villager to start walling up. Let's say I wanna wall here actually.
بناء
So this is a good place to start walling up with that villager as well. Now, once I have my 2 archery ranges up, I can add more farm. Instead of adding farms or anything or villages under the town center, until I have 8 villages on gold, these villagers can start walling up for me as well, while I'm making 2 range constant archers. Once I have 8 on gold, then villagers can now go to the sheep again. And I'm adding fish as well now.
مستعد نعم
I'm gonna start adding fish as well, which will allow me to have like a good food income
بناءة حطابة
to go up to the castle age.
نعم بناءة حطابة
أمر صحيح سأفعل بناء
Just gonna wall this off as well.
أمر بناءة مستعدة بناءة أمر بناءة بناءة
نعم
باحثة عن الطعام
And once I have like 6 archers with fletching, I can start moving out towards my opponent. 6-7 archers. Every 5 pop in 4 production buildings with different tastes, I guess.
مستعدة
Yeah, now you just keep adding fish on one pond. So now you can expand to the other ponds once this like setup is done.
الطعام
So again, 6 on sheep, and then you go to the berries again.
أهلا بناء ألو بناء بناء مستعد بناء
نعم مستعد
Just gonna mass my archers.
مستعدة بناءة
أهلا باحث عن الطعام
Constantly keep making fish with this one dog. Make sure you're not getting like sneaked. If you are getting sneaked, just add a second dog and make fires. Or try your best to micro with one dog constant fire production. Depending on how good your micro is, you can depending on what is happening in the game.
بناءة بناءة
Now I can sneak out to make another pond. I can make it over here. I can make it on his pond, or I can just expand to my other pond. I usually just like prefer to play it a little bit on the normal side and just play on my ponds if I'm like not taking any big risks.
بناء
أمر مستعد.
I'm gonna take this deer. Why not?
نعم سيادة.
Just keep adding more archers constantly from 2 ranges. Just never stop doing that.
مستعدة. بناء سيادة سبع.
Constant 1 duck production here as well until you have 10 fish. After 10 fish, it becomes too inefficient to keep adding more fish on that one pond, unless you want to make like a lot of fish traps.
أمر.
أهلا حطاب. ألو
نعم حطابة.
I'm gonna get the farm upgrade before I seed any more farms.
مستعد.
You can skip it, but I personally like to do it. Even though it might delay my uptime by a little bit, because
نعم بناء.
on a map like on a hybrid map like this, like having the farm with extra food and wood like lets you have a lot of more wood in the mid game.
نعم باحثة مستعدة. بناءة.
نعم بناء.
نعم سأفعل. هجوم.
And you should be able to click up any second now. After this is done. So 5-6 farms, that's all I need. And I'm gonna send the last 2 villages to gold.
أمر صحيح. أهلا بناء. بناء. نعم أمر بناء.
This will should be able to click up. 10 on gold. That's perfect.
أمر. بناءة.
Replace this lumber camp. Replace this lumber camp. Once it gets like 3 tiles away, you should be looking to replace your lumber camps.
نعم.
نعم مستعد.
Get armor, get gold upgrade.
أهلا سأفعل. بناء.
أمر حسن. القتال.
And one of the bigger difference that you will see in this build compared to the night one is I'm not going to boom as much in Castle Age. Play AoE 4. I already do play AoE 4, but today I'm doing build orders for AoE 2.
نعم بناء.
نعم سأفعل. الهجوم.
أمر أهلا
أمر.
مستعد. نعم حطاب. نعم حطاب.
نعم
أمر حسن حطاب.
مستعدة. حطابة.
Just keeping archers. This is like a very big ball of archer if you open with 2 archery ranges immediately. Yes, your castle age timing might be a little bit delayed, but we are not really aiming for a castle age when you open with 2 range. You're aiming literally for imperial age if you have this much fish in your economy.
نعم هجوم.
نعم بناء. أهلا ألو
So now, once I'm up to the castle age,
مستعدة.
I'm gonna drop a town center immediately.
حطابة.
Usually I would like to drop it on a stone, even if it's like out in the middle. I'm gonna drop it on a stone, get the 3 important upgrades of Castle Age, which are Botkin, Arrow, Bosa, and Crossbow. And then I'm gonna wait for
مستعد.
my buildings
نعم مستعدة.
to click up to Imperial Age.
نعم
I'm gonna get a university so that I can get ballistics.
بناءة. حطابة.
Also, get gill lands if you want to like boost up your food eco even more. But I have like enough food to click up, so I'm just gonna use that wood to like save that wood to get like my buildings up instead.
مستعدة.
I'm gonna cut off my crossbow production because I already have a lot of them. And since I'm substituting a lot of my food income for fish, this will allow me to click up very quickly to Imperial Age. And I'm gonna drop this TC on the stone so that I can get a stone income to go to get a castle. Of course, if you have a market, I would be trading resources to click up already. But since I don't have it, I'm just gonna wait and patiently for the gold. Just a little bit more. You should be using these crossbows to attack, and make sure you don't lose this mass since you built it up like from feudal age. There we go. We have enough gold to click up.
بناءة أمر
Yeah, the wood upgrade, and the next thing is basically just finishing up your eco upgrades and stuff. Something like the ballistics and
مستعد نعم حسنا
the other important stuff.
حسنا نعم حسنا
As a magician, how do you push against knights and mangonels? Monks and pikes and eagles.
أمرك سأفعل
And if you have redemption on your monks with like Incas and Aztecs, you can convert the mangonels. If you're Mayans, you mix in pikemen and monks and convert the enemy's knights to snipe the mangonels. Make your own mangonels if like he's pushing you.
مستعد
If you are pushing him, then you just need to convert his knights.
أهلا
أمر
ألوم
مستعدة صحيح حسنا
مستعد
سأفعل نعم صحيح بناءة
مستعد نعم هجوم
And now I can just drop a castle forward
مستعدة عاملة
with my units.
أهلا عامل
أمرك
من
مستعد سأفعل القتال نعم نعم الهجوم أمرك هجوم حسنا مستعد نعم
أمر نعم بناء
مستعد أفعل أمرك نعم نعم حسنا
Because of the fish income, I have still like a very healthy economy, and I'll be able to get my upgrades.
حسنا هجوم نعم الهجوم قتال نعم أمرك مستعد نعم الهجوم هجوم نعم الهجوم نعم مستعد حسن نعم أمرك سأفعل قتال نعم هجوم حسن القتال سأفعل
Chemistry, Arbalist,
مستعد
and
أمرك الهجوم
Bracer.
نعم بناء
Start adding farms.
بناءة
أمر بناء
And more fish. Make trebs, and this like trebs and arbalist, and basically making sure you get up to 100 villages and 200 population should be the next step. Add more like archery ranges if you want to add more production,
عاملة منجم
or if you want to go for a different unit composition.
نعم حسن أمرك
I'm only doing this with like a arbalist civilization if you were planning to play archers. This is why archer civilization and a map, hybrid map like this, can be very dangerous because you can go up to Imperial Age very quickly while having a very strong economy behind it. Since your upgrades are cheaper and you don't have to boom as heavily compared to a knight civilization, which do need to boom a little bit, it's although not as hard as like a archer civ in terms of the timing, because you have the flexibility of switching into land eco. But in this one, if you lose your food income on your water, you're going to put yourself very far behind because our economy is already going to be stretched. But at this point, like, your economy is fine. You have enough, like, you already have all your upgrades and like you have the position and everything.
نعم بناءة
مستعد مستعد
And now you just win the game with the
الهجوم
trebs and the arbalist composition.
أمر أهلا حطاب
أمر
بناء
مستعد نعم مستعد
Yeah, just finish them off with the remaining stuff.
مستعد
Add more production, add more castles, pick up the relics with the monks, use the market to trade whatever resources you need, finish up your eco upgrades.
نعم نعم حسن مستعد هجوم
Get conscription so that you can have more production, get like all your upgrades on your units whenever you can finish them. Yeah, this basically concludes the end of this build order as well. Last up, we are going to talk about the Manatam variation of how to do a Manatam rush in the 4 licks. The end of it is kind of similar to this build, where you're going to use the fish to get up to the Imperial Age very quickly. I'm even gonna start making fish traps.
مستعدة عاملة
أمر
منزل.
بناء حطاب.
I think this is the only place that shows build Lieutenant. Yeah, like I'm going to do it till Imperial. Otherwise, like there's a lot of scenarios on what to do next. I'm showing the most ideal situation where like I'm gonna put it till Imperial Age so that like you have a clear idea of like what the next steps are. Nah, you will just resign. You can get elite Mameluke or whatever. Your economy is like so strong at this point of the game with 100 villages and rest of it on the fish and stuff, even without expanding to rest of the ponds. If you expand to 4 of the ponds, you're going to be in a very good position regardless. This concludes the end of Archers on Hyper.